performance. We come out here to do a test and show you guys what happens when you have too much or too little air in your tires. I got noisy neighbors. This is all my pond. I got squatters that showed up, and they're obnoxious and they won't shut up. So we're gonna find a different place to kind of talk to y'all.
I don't know, they're no worse than any of the other neighbors we have here, I suppose, but
Very true.
they're not gonna let us film here, so
No.
we're gonna go find a quieter location.
Yeah.
But whoa.
Wait. They're leaving.
Okay, well, maybe we will film here.
Sweet. The noisy neighbors are gone. The geese have flown off. They're probably going to come back, though, because I think they're nesting here.
And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Let's get this done while the geese are gone. So, what we got here is the acre shaker, and we did a post, it was a little while back, showing the difference when you have that post showed 8 PSI in the tires and 30 or 35, whatever it was. But some people actually questioned the validity of that. So we're going to do some testing on video and show you guys what actually happens when you have overinflated and underinflated. These are the Maxxis Carnivore tires. They are known to be a little bit soft in the sidewall. They flex over a little bit. Not a big deal. But right now we have 35 PSI, which is the max that the sidewall says. I could not tell you how many times I've seen people do that. So we're going to start with that. We're going to get some shots of them up. We're going to do a few different tests and show you guys what we have, and we'll go from there.
Look at the crown on that. I think you're riding on just the center rib.
Probably.
All right, let's go have some fun with tires. You know, I'm not one to talk about people's weekend proclivities and odd things they do, but Chad's painting his tires.
That's it.
You can drive across paper in a razor.
Yay me.
I'll bet you didn't even feel that.
I didn't. Not a bump. The suspension silky smooth. So what we just did is that's a test on the paper right there. We painted the tire to show what the contact patch is at 36 PSI, which is full air pressure, max air pressure that they suggest for this tire.
And really what you're getting right now is the center tread and just a tiny, tiny piece of the outer tread blocks.
Yep, that is it.
On a 10-inch wide tire, you're getting about maybe 8 inches of contact.
That's true.
And you're not flexing much.
No. So now we're gonna air down on that tire and we'll drive right back over them.
Chad's phone again.
Yeah.
You're a popular person.
I am.
All right, Chad is doing the final air down here. We're gonna go down to, what do we decide, 15?
15.
That's probably still a little harder than most people are gonna run them.
Yeah.
But I think, 12 probably on average, 10 to 12.
10 to 12 is kind of what a lot of people run. I tend to like a little less. Now what, I don't know if it'll show right here. I'll try it. Doug, if you can zoom in here on the bottom of the tire and I'll point with the screwdriver. This bottom lug, as you can see, is not really in contact well. It may flex when I drive over the paper. We'll see here in a second. But you can see that that's not really in contact with that bottom lug right there.
Yep, a little bit of a gap.
On to more tire painting.
Paint. All right, once again, 15 PSI. What are the odds we could sell this as frameable artwork?
I would frame it. But, so right there, what you guys are seeing is 15 PSI on the tires. And you can definitely see we gained about an inch on each side of lug that's showing.
You see that outside lug definitely has...
It's got a definite footprint now, you can see it. But you also see that we are not getting the full lug print on that tire. So we're leaving traction in the tire that we could be using either A for cornering or B for forward acceleration. So we're gonna go ahead, reset one more time, do it again at 4 PSI, which is pretty low pressure. I would say it's right in between rock crawling pressure and sand pressure. So we're gonna get that and we'll show you guys that sequence next.
Once again, airing down, going all the way down to 4 PSI.
We're down to about 6 now, so it shouldn't take too long.
Takes a little longer because the less air you got, the less it wants to come out. But you can already see how bulgy the sidewall is.
So if you guys see before, this basically this lug that was directly below the center line, I could get the screwdriver under. I cannot get it under it now, and here's the lugs beside it. On both ways, this one you can still get it under this back half, but even there, can't really get it under any, but just that last little bit. And by the time I get down to 4 PSI, it won't be. So your contact patch just went up a ton.
This is some great video right here, by the way.
Just me airing down a tire. Great. Just sitting here.
Be a tire model.
If I was better looking.
Well, you don't want to show up the tire.
Yeah, that's it.
How we doing?
Let's see.
Snap.
I broke it.
Hey, look, 0.
4.5. I think a front shot of this tire.
Oh, I could talk to a cameraman here.
Look at how bulged.
Get down on the ground. I'm old, man. You can't ask me to do these action shots. Yeah, you can see the bulge there for sure.
So what's Doug showing you is, if you look at the top, that kind of is representative of how the tire was when it had a lot of pressure in it. It stood up a little more, crowned a little more in the center. But now we're down at 4 PSI, and you can see how far out this stands versus what this stands up at the top, out from the wheel. So that tells you your contact patch has gone from something like this, if you guys are looking at the profile of my hands, to where it's flattened out and it's gone like that. So now you have, instead of a narrow and short contact patch right in the center of the tire where it contacts the ground, it's now gotten wider, the width of the tire, and longer because the tire is flattened down. Now this PSI isn't going to be real good for high speed runs or anything like that. That tire is really going to heave over. But if you're rock crawling or something like that, or in the sand, this is where you want to be. Look at that thing wiggle when you hit it.
Like jello. That's how you know you're ready to race.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason we actually did this video was to prove that Chad can indeed drive that slow.
In a controlled manner and not crash it. Look at that. I didn't even crash.
All right, video's over. We're good.
So what you guys are seeing here, what Doug's showing you on that paper, is you are now seeing the full tread block width, edge to edge.
Doug is going to pull this out a little into the sun. Yes.
So you can see those full tread block widths. I would say we probably got to full tread block width on this particular tire at around 8 to 10 PSI.
Yeah, 4 is really, really soft. In fact, I don't even think on this buggy with this particular tire you'd want to go that low for rock crawling.
Right.
It'd be a little bit much. But we want to demonstrate the full range of what a tire will do depending on the air pressure.
Yep.
And that's one other thing we were talking about in between shots here was beadlock rings. They are not a magic cure-all for tire pressure mismanagement.
They are not.
If you're running way too soft, they will not save you.
So let's talk a little bit about what beadlock rings do. There is 2 styles of beadlock ring wheels. There is what I have here, which is an outer beadlock ring, and it only, as the name would suggest, has a beadlock ring on the outer side. The inner lip of this wheel is exactly like any other wheel where it does not have a beadlock ring. Now what does that buy you, you might ask, just having the one? A majority of your side load on a tire, I'm going to get out and show you guys. So a majority of your side load on a tire when you're cornering is always going to be on the outside of the wheel and tire. Because no matter which way you're going, if you're making a hard left turn on the right side, it's going to load heavy on that tire. The outside is going to load the hardest, and it's going to want to, well, let's say if you're making a right hand, because I'm standing by the left tire. So this tire is going to want to heave out, which is going to roll this outer sidewall under, and this inner sidewall is also going to roll under, but it's not in danger of being peeled off. The danger is where this sidewall peels off of the bead under low pressure, under high cornering, and then you blow a tire. Or you get dirt and rocks in there, and when the sidewall closes back up, when you're not under cornering load, then you develop a leak, and it slowly goes down to the point that you do roll it off the rim.
Save the paper. That being said, you still have to have proper air pressure for what you're trying to do in the tire.
Correct. So what a bead lock does is it actually clamps the bead of the tire to the wheel and holds it there as tight as possible. I mentioned there is another kind. There is a inner bead lock also, where it has the exact same style ring on the inside, and that's really for a lot of hardcore racers or rock crawlers, and it stops if you get on a rock and that rock is more towards the outside of the wheel and it's wanting to push you off. It can roll that inner bead just by the force of that rock. Or hardcore racers or something like that, if you come in and you hit a rut real hard, it'll peel that bead off and blow your tire. Most people, 99.9% of the world, myself included, I have no need for an inner bead lock. The outer is just fine, and it will get me by for sure.
I'm totally distracted by your beautiful finger painting there.
Thank you.
That is amazing.
Isn't it nice?
And they said you'd never pass kindergarten.
Yay me. Actually, the razor did it. I didn't even do it.
That, my friends, is a cinder block.
It's fancy. It's what we got around here in the country.
Nothing but the best for Eminent Performance viewers.
So what we're going to show now is how the tire wraps around obstacles. Right now we are still at the 4 PSI that we were at the last when we did the tire printing. So we're going to roll up onto this. We're going to show you how it flexes up and over it. And then we're going to switch, and we're actually going to do the other side of the vehicle on the front. So the weight distribution is the same, and show you what 35 PSI actually does when you climb and wrap it up on an obstacle.
Ta-da!
So that cinder block is only under about half of the tire. That's what we wanted to do, because if it's under the full, it's really no different than it being on the flat ground. But if Doug will get us a good shot from the front, you'll be able to see how much that tire on the inner is going to hang down a little bit.
Let me get down on the ground. Hey, look at that.
And that inner part of the tire will not be holding the weight, just the outer portion. We probably have about 3/4 of the tire on it right now, so it's not as exaggerated as it could be, but this would basically simulate if you were rock crawling and you were going up on a rock, that tire wrapping around that and showing you the ultimate traction that you can really get.
So we're on the other side now. This tire's still got 35 PSI in it. And we're gonna crawl up the same block.
So what you guys are seeing right now is the tire is on about the same amount of the block, and you can see that this tire is not wrapping out and around like it was previously. I'll let Doug get around to the front. And you can see how that tire is just standing up on top of that block way more than it should. You're not getting the full contact patch, and if it was a slick rock to try and climb it or something like that, it would have been a little more difficult to get up on top of it. Being as small as it is, and that we're in dry conditions right now, it really wasn't a problem to climb.
Sure, do that talking thing you do.
I'm gonna do the talking bit with the hand.
With the hands. Use the hands a lot. People like the hands.
So, it looks like we have a mess here, but we actually don't. What we're gonna do is, we have these two tires on the driver's side are set to 10 PSI, which is where I generally run the tires. Maybe slightly more, just kind of depends on your tire and what sidewall stiffness is. But what we're gonna do is use this come along and hike the razor up on its side, and we have a angle measurer right here, so it gets us the correct degrees, so we can do it on the other side. We're gonna show you how much sidewall deflection that actually produces based on the PSI. Now you might be asking yourself, what does that matter? I'm never gonna hike my razor up with a come along up against a tree. But what this is going to simulate and show you guys that we can't show you is when you're driving at high speed and you're cornering at high speed, that side load on your sidewall, that's what this is going to simulate like. So this would be simulating if you were making a hard corner and this tire is going to kind of start to roll into the tree a little bit more, and you'll get to see exactly that side load.
We have tires leaving the ground.
Is it off the ground over there?
It's trying. Maybe just... Yeah, it's kind of just barely floating there.
Okay. So what this simulates is, and I can do this, yeah, it's just off the ground. I can do this cornering hard on nice tacky dirt. I can get a tire to lift. Front, rear tire, doesn't matter. We're just basically looking at the rear right now because it's easy to strap to the cage there. But I can get a tire to lift while cornering. So when the inside tire is lifted, now you can see, look at the deflection on this tire.
That is pretty extreme.
That is easily half of the tire width. So these are 10-inch wide tires. So you're easily looking at 5 inches of deflection over. And this is not uncommon to see, actually.
Cornering hard, man.
Yep. So if you, this would be mid-corner, highest side load you can do. And if Doug gets a shot of this over here on the side, this will kind of show what we were talking about with the beadlock wheels and what they do. When under extreme load, if you didn't have beadlocks, it would be wanting to roll this tire all the way off. And actually you can see, and I really don't want to stick my finger in there too much, but this is the bead of the tire, and this part is actually sitting horizontal here. This one is actually rolled out and exposed, but because that beadlock is there, it's keeping it from blowing that tire off the wheel.
And there's our...
We are at 8 degrees keeled over. That way we can kind of get a good estimate of what we're going to be at on the other side when we're loading the other side tire. The frogs are making noise now. So
why do you have so many noisy animals out here?
I don't know, they're inconsiderate. So anyway, this side we're going to now hike up with the come along and strap to the cage the same way. The wheel is in the same position based on where the anchor point is, so it's as much the same as we can get it. We're going to re-zero our angle finder here because it's definitely different.
And this is the 35 PSI side, so you can see we're back to 0 there.
It's going to bounce a little between 0 and 0.1. Hopefully we can get it to stabilize.
You need a more accurate Chinese measure.
I know. It's good enough for who it's for, though.
0. I like it.
So now we're going to hike it up. Like Doug was saying, this is the 35 PSI side. So this is still going to deflect some, but it should not be anyways near as much.
As Adam Savage once said, the difference between science and screwing around is writing it down, so...
We're not writing, we're videoing.
Close enough. As far as I'm concerned, we're doing science. 6.
That tire is just coming off the ground there.
Yep.
We're studying at 7. We'll go a little more. I'm good with...
In the name of science, here you go. 7, 8, 7, 9, 8 on the nose. Oh, we're a little over.
We're a little over. Let me let it off one click and we'll see what we get.
That tire's definitely off the ground.
Yeah. 8.3. Let's go off one more.
Yeah, it's close enough.
What do we say?
8-1.
8.1. That's,
we'll call that a win.
This is actually a little bit more angled over than the other side. But you can see that there is some deflection in that tire.
but not near
it
as
is not
pronounced.
anything like the other side was. We are maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of the tire block is rolled over, and this outside you can see is not near as extreme. I'm going to point out the bead again to you guys. The bead is just starting to open up here a little bit, but it's really not much more than the top. On the lower PSI side, that bead was really opened up. It was really putting some pressure, and those beadlocks are really doing their jobs. So this kind of shows what it would be like cornering on hard tires. Now these hard tires, when you're cornering at a high PSI, it is going to feel a little bit better. You're going to feel the chatter from the ground, but you are going to not feel the sidewall roll over. You're not going to feel that. It's almost going to feel like body roll is what it's going to feel like when you're running low PSI and cornering at high speeds. But if you're doing short course stuff like that, you still wouldn't want this high PSI because you're giving up traction. But you're definitely going to want to be on the higher side of your tire PSI for something like that.
Science.
Science-ish.
Science-ish. Science-esque. All right, guys. Tire PSI stuff.
Yep.